silence followed by a deafening roar is the name of the CD, and it's also the name of this song. And this title obligated me to try to find something that would be a deafening roar. I decided the best way to do it might be to use a bow, like you'd use on a violin or a cello. And all I'm doing is playing the low E string on the F sharp note, 14th fret, and pulling up on it slowly, bending it, and then bowing it at the same time. So after the monstrous, deafening roar comes a heavy metal riff that I liked in the key of C sharp. It sounds like this. This is an instrumental song or an instrumental album. So I have a lot of room for a lot of guitar, and I want to slowly build it up. In this case, of course, I'm beginning with the rhythm, that kind of phrase. And when I begin the solo, I do a variation of that an octave higher. So it's kind of a melodic version. From there, I start to get a little more shreddy, let's say, with some 16th notes. This is kind of a nice pattern. It still locks into the rhythm pretty well, and it sounds like this. So this is one of my favorite ways of playing arpeggios. When I'm doing string skipping, like that. I'm not using the B string. I'm doing 2 notes on the E, 2 notes on the G, and then 1 note here on the D string. I follow that with the scale pattern, just ascending. That's C sharp minor, C sharp natural minor. Starting here, 3 notes per string. And that leads us rhythmically and melodically back to our first lick. So it sounds like. I like that. I'm contrasting an arpeggio with a scale, so you can kind of, each one complements the other. From there, instead of doing an ascending scale, I do a descending scale in between the arpeggios. Yeah, now let's get up to speed. 1, 2. From there, I do a rock and roll lick. I think Kiss used to play this a lot. I can't do that without making some rock and roll faces. I love that one. So the main chords of the song are these 4 chords. We play them 1 note at a time, so you make sure you got them. And I just play those quietly by finger picking at the beginning. And then in the middle of the song, at the big climax, I use 2-handed technique to play the same notes. It sounds like this. So let me show that to you a little bit slower. On the high E string, you have these notes. Louder. Then on the B string, big stretch. Then a little smaller stretch, still on the B string. And back to the high E string. 1, 2. This is the eudaimonia overture. It has a lot of parts, and they're all kind of different from each other, but at least they're in the same tempo and mostly in the same key, which is why I put them together, and I like the way they flow. At the beginning of the song, we have this crazy two-hand thing. It's actually much easier to play than it sounds. I'm using a lot of the same frets, which is why it's easier to play. The 12th fret, I believe this is the 17th fret, so a little bit of a stretch there. And then the 19th with a tap. So as tapping licks go, that's relatively easy. And I just do that on each set of strings. Well, there's the first four. And I repeat the top two, so it would be... kind of good because you're stretching and you'll lean over your guitar. Then at the end I hit those same frets on the top strings. So altogether you can see how that comes together. So it's kind of amazing. I can't believe it sounds like that because it's really pretty easy to play as long as you can get that stretch happening. The next part are these arpeggiated chords. I'm just going to play through them slowly so you can hear them. The important thing here is actually the bass note is changing underneath. So I hope you can hear the song and the record so you know the context of what's happening with the bass note. But here's how it sounds a little bit slower. So it took me a long time to memorize that, but once you get it down, it's not that technically difficult to play. And it's a lot of fun to play that with the band, because you're just getting these great, solid arpeggio patterns that, you know, they're not super, super fast, but they're locked in and they're driving. You know, it's 1, 2, 3. So that kind of rocks. Another part of the eudaimonia overture that I want to show you is a picking part. It sounds like this. The thing I like about this is that the rhythm goes between one speed and doubles the speed, and the transitions have to be really accurate. You can't, you know, slowly speed up. You've got to be like a drummer going and that to me drives it. And it's a great exercise for your picking as well. So let me demonstrate it one more time, and I want you to listen to that rhythm. That that's all it is. It's all 3-note per string shapes. So you get 3 notes on the string. And then the faster ones are 3-note per string as well. So these are all in the key of E minor, by the way, just starting on different steps of the scale. And the last one. Let's see if I can do it up to speed. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. The last part of the eudamonia overture is actually a Bach piano piece that I learned on the guitar. And I like to learn these to warm up my hands and also to warm up my brain before I begin an album project. So a lot of the records that I do, the very first step of making the record or writing is to learn one of these Bach pieces. It sort of gets the juices flowing. So I want to show you the beginning of this because I think the techniques are relatively easy to play and they sound great. It sounds like this. Just that much. You can hear rhythmically a lot of the same things are going on. It's going ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. If you were playing drums, it'd be tigga-tigga-tigga-tigga-tigga-tigga. You can hear the accents. You know, it's easy to do with your mouth. So let's make our fingers do that same thing. The technique I'm using is string skipping with a fair amount of hammer-ons and pull-offs to give me that kind of pulse. The ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. I'll play through the whole thing slowly, and I'll include some tablature so you can, if you really want to, you can learn the whole thing. Here's the whole thing slowly. And then the fast version. Cannot Tell a Lie is one of my favorite songs to play on the record. It's almost a ballad and has these beautiful chords. The first chord is actually an A chord, but I added a B note to it. I suppose that's the ninth. And then I made it a first inversion. I put the third in the bass. So that's the first chord, then a D chord with a ninth in it as well. Then E sus, dominant sus I guess it would be. Regular E major. Very simple chords, but the trick is to come up with a melody that keeps the listener's interest over that whole thing. And I tried to have something that had some rhythmic and melodic variation, some nice vibrato, and some crying tones. So that's what I did. One of the most important things with this is that you're able to stop. Again, being a heavy metal guitar player, I've had a guitar sound most of my life where I can't stop. There's always so much distortion. Your guitar is feeding back and howling and making noises, and I wanted to get a little less distortion and get a sound where I can actually stop. Listen, relative quiet, and there's not a big howling sound. And that really takes the panic away. There's a certain amount of panic in playing electric guitar. You're like, oh my God, I gotta control this thing that's going, taking off and potentially making all this noise. So it's kind of a nice experience to have a sound that's where you crank it or have it back just a little bit. And actually in this case, I'm getting a lot of distortion from the power amp tubes, which tend to be a little more percussive and not getting, it's not taking off with all that hiss and feedback. Just a nice, pure, strong tone, and I can actually stop in a phrase. So most of the song is slow enough where it's not a matter of having a lot of shred technique to play it. It's more, you want to have good vibrato, your bends have to be very in tune, and the sliding is important too. When I slide into, I want to make sure that the slide is nice sounding. So I'm going to show you the short shred part in it, because maybe that's the part that's not as obvious as far as fingering goes. There's a two-handed part. Let's see, it's coming out of something like, I'm doing sort of a chord thing. And then from here. So maybe that's one of the more shreddy parts. I'll show it to you slowly. The first two-handed part are these notes. It's with the left hand and with the right hand, D and E. So the pattern is like this. Let's loop that over and over again. All right. From there, it actually gets simpler. The next two, it's only three notes. Here's the next one. And a big stretch. And one step up, a half step. So pretty much all the same pattern, just the pressure changing. Then I've got this lick, it's a pull-off lick. It's kind of F-sharp minor sounding. G major sounding, same kind of lick. The pull-off is really driving the lick. The picking is very simple. I'm just picking once per string. last one, a big stretch to get that E major sound. Let's put that all together.